Hi, this is Kate Crumbar with Tech Demo 2, and for my technology, I've chosen Kahoot. So my case study is about Mrs. Smith, and she's a 5th grade teacher with 20 students in her class. She does an ELA lesson each day, and she's looking for an effective tool that can assess students' progress at the end of lessons. She's currently using an exit ticket paper form as her form of assessment at the end of the lessons. And these are paper slips that the students can ask questions on about the lesson. So the goals for these exit tickets are that she wants to be able to read student responses and use that information to help her finalize her lesson plans for the next day. So if she needs to revise, she wants to be able to know that, or if she's ready to move forward and the students understand what is going on, she can use that information to help her plan. She also wants to be able to track individual student and whole class growth and to see how they have grown in their understanding. And she also wants to use this to give students feedback. So if they're doing well, she wants to be able to tell them. And if they need more work, she wants to be able to get that extra help to those students. But the challenges for these paper exit tickets are that it's very difficult to evaluate student understanding because the answers are often vague and short because the students don't care enough to write a lot. And so that makes it really hard to get a big picture understanding of the true learning. And it's also hard to get a big understanding because of the number of exit slips and the fact that Mrs. Smith has to remember each one. So with that, it's difficult to track the progress of the class and the individual student because of the amount of paper exit tickets that she has to go through. So that's very time consuming. And if there's 20 kids in her class and 5 lessons a day, or per week, if there's 5 lessons per week and 20 students in the class, that's 100 exit slips that she has to go through and remember. So because of that, it's really hard to get those students feedback about their understanding of the lesson. Because of the number of exit tickets. So that's why I picked Kahoot. So Kahoot's free to use, and we're going to be looking at the free version because this is a very quick assessment. So we don't need the big upgrades or anything, but there is that option. It can be used on both computer and mobile device. It works on any internet browser and is available to download on your respective app store. So Kahoot's a game-based learning platform where you can do live quizzes, timed quizzes, or untimed quizzes. For more complex problems. So if your kids need extra time, you can take the time option away. It also stores student responses based on the quizzes, so you have the ability to track it and you can review it at any time as the teacher. You can also create groups to give students access to different Kahoots, and it gives students points for correct answers, which also creates kind of an incentive to want to answer the question right and to win. So it gives them a challenge, but you can also take those points away. And then you also have the ability to take away privacy settings, and it gives you different options to choose from based on what question you want, the theme you want, so on and so forth. So here's an example of Kahoot being used in a classroom. So these students are using computers instead of mobile devices. So this is an example of what the teacher's screen would look like. So the question's at the top, the time is at the left, the answers are on the right based on how many students have responded. And then down below are the options that students have, and they are coordinated by color and shape. So this computer right here, this light blue computer, is an example of what the screen would look like when the student has answered the question and they are waiting for the next one. And then these 3 computers with the rainbow boxes on them are what the student response choices look like. So based on the answer, so if the answer was, for this example, red, the student would hit red. Or if they wanted to remember it by shape, if it was triangle, which also is red, they could remember triangle and hit the triangle option. So to get started on Kahoot, you're just going to go to kahoot.com, and this is the page that it leads you to. You'll either have to sign up for an account, or if you already have one, you'll just log into your Kahoot account. And once you're into your account, this is the page that it will take you to. It will take you to your home page. So to create a Kahoot, you're just going to hit create, and then you're going to hit Kahoot. Now, Mrs. Smith could also create a course, but since this is just an assessment for the end of a lesson, she doesn't need to create a whole course. This is just a sort of instant feedback sort of tool, so she does not need to do that. So let's take a closer look at Kahoot. So this is the page that we were just on. We were just talking about how to create one. So I'm going to show you the different tools before we go into Kahoot. So this is your home page. This is kind of the base for everything. It shows you the Kahoots that you've made, which I've already made one for this demonstration. It shows you that you can play demo games, you can host Kahoots. There's different articles based on how Kahoot is good, different Kahoots that are pre-made that you can play with your class For example, Disney made this one, and if you have extra time, you could play a Disney Kahoot with your students. So this is the Discover tab. It is very similar to the Marketplace, where you can discover other pre-made Kahoots, and you can even purchase them in packs if you so choose. We're not doing that for this demonstration. And then next we'll look at groups. This is what I was talking about. So I've already made a 5th grade group example. So to create one, you would just hit create group, name it, and hit create, and it will take you to this. So this could be Mrs. Smith's 5th grade group. Now, once you're into it, I do apologize. My internet is very, very slow. We'll go ahead and refresh and see if that helps. Yep. So now we're in. Your members, you would just be able to invite members and type in their student emails. Or you can send them a link, and then all the students would be in here. You can change the group settings on this side, but we're not going to look too much into that. And then if you want to add a Kahoot, so this Kahoot that we're going to be playing in just a minute, we can add it in here for those students to practice with. But these are the two that we're really going to focus on, is library and reports. So library is where all of your Kahoots are going to be stored. So if I made this and wanted to play it like right this second, I would just hit start. We're not going to do that. I'm going to go into showing you how we edit and that sort of thing. And then we're also going to look at reports. So this, I don't have any because I have not played any Kahoots. And I've not hosted any. So once we have data based on this Kahoot, they will show up here and show me how the student, which will be me in this example, has done and what questions they've answered. So we're going to go ahead and go to library, and we're going to hit this edit button. So once you hit create in Kahoot, this is what it will take you to. This is what it will look like. But I've already created it, so we're just going to leave it as it is. So for this example, we have looked at synonyms and antonyms because that is what Mrs. Smith is trying to assess. So I've typed in a question, what is a synonym for good? I've inserted a media, which you can do it. You can also remove it if you don't want it. And then you have the option to type in different answers. So once you have your answer, you just select it in the circle. Since I already have the correct answer selected, I'm obviously not going to do that. And then there's also the option for true or false. So same sort of thing. If you want to add another question, you just hit add question. And for the free version, you're just either going to hit quiz, which is multiple choice, or true and false. These are all premium options that can be purchased, but we're not going to purchase that today. And then if you hit add slide, you hit classic because that's the free version. It's basically a PowerPoint slide or similar to a PowerPoint slide that just gives the students information. So it could be sort of like a presentation, but we don't need that for this example. You can change the theme of it if you'd like. I'm just going to leave it where I like the theme that it is. This is the time limit, so you can take away the time limit if you want to, but we're going to leave it for 5 seconds. And the points, this is the points feature I was talking about. You can leave it as standard, double the points per question, or take away the points for the question. So these can be different for all of the questions. And in question type, you can change the question type based on the side that you're on, which is very similar to the add question feature, but if you hit the wrong one, you can just change it up there. So now that we have gone over how to create it, we're going to play it. So we're going to hit save. And it did this to me last time. So we'll just hit exit since we have already created it. And it'll take you back to your library. So now that we have it created, we're going to hit start. We're going to start a live Kahoot. And it's going to give you the option to play individually or as a team. So if you had groups of students, you could play as a team and they could answer together. But we're going to play in classic mode. And it's going to give me a game pin. So I'm going to be playing along on my phone. And I'll show you how the students would be doing this. So this is going to be the same for a computer screen as well. They'll enter the game pin, which is 3357411. They'll hit enter once it's in. And then they will insert a nickname. So my nickname is just going to be Kate because that is my name, and there I am. Once all your students are in, you're going to just hit start. And it will read the students the question. So this is the name of the Kahoot. And then it will read them the question. So the first question is, what is a synonym for good? And it gives them all the options. Obviously the answer is pleasant, so I'm going to hit the blue diamond. It shows that I got this answer correct. It shows how many number of students answered which one. And on my screen, it says correct and gave me points. So for the next one, after each one, it does take you to the scoreboard. But after that, the next question will come up and it tells you what kind of question it is. So mad is a synonym for angry. Is that true or false? That is true. I hit blue. I'm correct. We're going to move on, check the leaderboard, and continue on. A quiz question. What is an antonym for old? So let's say I answer one wrong. An antonym for old would obviously be new, but we're going to hit ancient because that is a synonym. So it tells me that I'm incorrect and I do not get points for this question. My score does not change on the leaderboard, but if other students answered it correctly, their score would go up. Large is an antonym for big. Let's just answer this one. Correct. It is correct. We can see that it is correct. And now for our last question in this example, true or false? A synonym is a word that shares a similar meaning to one another, and an antonym is a word that means the opposite of another. So that is true. We're going to hit true. And here we are showing that we're correct. Now, after that is done, the student screens get the drum roll, and they get to see who placed where. So I placed first. Obviously, I was the only person playing. And then once you're done, all they have to do is just exit out. That's it. Now, as the teacher, you have the option to share the podium with the class, or you can hit next. This is the important part where you see how the students have done. So the difficult question is the one that I answered incorrectly, and it shows me that this was difficult because nobody got it right. So now as the teacher, I am going to want to hit view full report. Make sure you stop sharing your screen with the kids, but you're going to hit view full report, and that's going to take you to the reports section. Now, once we're in the reports section, it'll show you how the percentage of correct questions, the players, the number of questions, the time it took them, the hard questions. It's going to show you the players, the final score on any unanswered questions they may have. And then here is where you can see the incorrect questions. You can see who answered what incorrect and who answered what correctly. So that's great for that assessment to see how those kids did, and it's all housed right here under reports. So that is a basic version of how you use Kahoot. So we're going to go back and we're going to talk about it just a little bit more. So here we are back into the Kahoot. So this is the student perspective, which we just saw. This is what my phone looked like, and this is what the board looked like. And the teacher perspective, we also kind of saw on the computer. So this is what the test question would look like. We saw the answer scores. We saw how it looked at the end. With the difficult questions, which in this example there weren't any, how 50% were correct, and then we also saw, we looked at the reports. So this is what the teacher perspective would look like, and it gives comprehensive feedback to those students. And then the closing remarks, so this addresses the goals because Mrs. Smith is able to see each student's answer, and she's able to use that information to help create her lesson plans. She's also able to track how individual students and the whole class has grown in their understanding because she can use that reports tool and see the whole class percentage of correct answers, which questions were hard for the class, that sort of thing. And based on this, she can give those kids that struggled extra help because she can see who answered what. And this addresses the challenges because students don't have to write anything. They don't have any sort of writing they have to do on those exit tickets. All of the answers are defined. They just have to choose the correct one. Mrs. Smith does not have to remember any of the results because they're all stored under reports, and she can see the big picture of how her kids are doing. There also won't be numerous slips piled up on her desk that she has to go through. Again, they're all stored right there in a compact place, and the students get feedback faster because Mrs. Smith can see their results immediately and can get that feedback to them a lot faster. So that is Kahoot, and Mrs. Smith, if you are out there, I believe Kahoot is the way to go for your exit tickets. Thank you so much and have a great day.